Ethics and mental health. In sum, the first subject invokes seriousness. The second ignites fear and shame. However, when you get to the core of ethics and mental health together, you see our values individually and collectively as a community. Hello, I'm Ryan Good, President, CEO of Foundations Health and Wholeness. We are proud to present this event every year to celebrate stories of ethics in action in our community and recognize that our values influence our mental health. All of our work in mental health and foster care is guided by our mission, vision, and values. Since 1965, Foundation has been a nonprofit focused on healing mind and spirit through community, collaboration, leadership, and innovation. Our entire team envisions a caring and connected community that embraces the health and wholeness of all people.
I'm Kelly Nutty, Director of Development at Foundations. At last year's event, we promised to launch more conversations, share more stories, and create more opportunities for community members to live their values. This is the launch of an inspiring movement to tell the stories of our values, how we live with integrity, and how we inspire others. Yes, this event hopes to raise money too. This year, we and you are raising critical funds for mental health literacy and counseling and emotional health screenings for children and teens in our community. You are an important ally for them. You are their mentors, teachers, confidants, and heroes. You can make sure they get access to mental health care. When children and teens thrive, families flourish, and communities prosper. To help inspire your gifts, one local family is committed to making sure children and teens heal mind and spirit. They have pledged $100,000 as a matching gift. For every dollar you give, they will double your gift. Already, our generous event sponsors have made 500 counseling sessions possible. Will you join them in the fight against stigma and help children and teens heal mind and spirit? Will you make a financial gift to give children and teens the opportunity to thrive and grow into compassionate adults? Especially now, during this time of isolation and change, we need you. They need you. With that, I'd like to introduce Michelle Hansen, Director of the George Crest Foundation, our founding sponsor.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hansen, Director of the George Crest Foundation at Green Bay Packaging. Green Bay Packaging began operations in 1933 when its founder, George Crest, inspired others with a life of paper industry innovation and community good works. Today, we come together to honor individuals in our community who, like George Crest, are making a difference. It's unfortunate we can't be together in person, but I am grateful we can come together to honor those who have made a positive impact in workplaces, schools, and neighborhoods. It was in the early 1960s when George Crest recognized the need for mental health care. His vision was a mental health clinic that would operate under 3 guiding principles: provide quality care, integrate the mind, body, and spirit into treatment, and make the services available to everyone. That was the start of what is now Foundations Health and Wholeness. At Green Bay Packaging, we believe it is important to take care of our community. Mental health is essential to our overall well-being, and it is especially important as the pandemic alters life as we know it. I ask you to join us to support the positive mental health of young people by giving today. Your contribution will help support children and teen mental health literacy, emotional health screenings, and counseling. Together, we can help our neighbors heal. Together, we can break the stigma. Together, we can make a difference. Congratulations to all of the Ethics in Action Award recipients. Thank you to those who submitted nominations, and thank you to all of you who work to create a healthy community for all of us every day. May we leave here today inspired by our friends, our neighbors, and our coworkers. We are Foundations.
Thank you, Michelle and the George Crest Foundation. Before we introduce the Ethics Awards for 2020, Dr. Ben Chan, an ethics professor at St. Norbert College, provides a glimpse into the independent selection process.
Thanks for attending the 13th annual ethics event presented by Foundations Health and Wholeness. I'm Dr. Benjamin Chan, an ethics and philosophy professor at St. Norbert College. I'm happy to lead the team of community volunteers who review, research, and evaluate the nominations of Ethics in Action that Foundations receives for its annual event. As an ethics professor, I teach college students about the theories of morality, integrity, and the common good. This event bridges theory with community. Our hope is that the stories we honor can enliven our sense of ethical possibilities for Brown County and beyond. Starting this year, the Ethics Awards moved away from selecting one person or organization in specific categories to receive awards based on all that they do. We're excited for the opportunity to be more inclusive, to honor more people, and to share stories that can inspire others to make our community a place where all can live, work, learn, and grow to their fullest potential. This year, we received over 40 nominations. They came from all parts of community life. We're honored that we're part of those stories, and all of them inspired us. We are excited to honor and celebrate 10 people who are creating healthy neighborhoods, workplaces, and schools. When we reviewed the nominations, the stories that jumped out to us fell into 3 categories. There were stories of ethical illumination, people shining a light on needs that might otherwise go unnoticed and acting to meet those needs. There were stories of ethical integrity, maintaining a commitment to values when it would have been much easier to give them up. Finally, there were stories of ethical inspiration, the creation of innovative solutions to community problems. We hope these honorees and stories inspire you to celebrate the work of others in our community and to find a way to put your ethical vision and moral imagination into action.
Thank you, Ben. As we introduce the 10 Ethics in Action Awards, or ETHIs, for this year, each recipient receives an award like this. We think of this award as a story stick, much like a talking stick. Stories are important because it's how we connect to one another, share our values with future generations, and bring about change. The honeycomb design is a favorite theme of ours. Bees are experts at working together, communicating, adapting, and being servant leaders, everything that a community needs to thrive. If you've attended this ever in the past, you see that we've made changes. The ETHIs represent stories of ethics and actions. We want you to see pieces of yourself in their stories. We want to inspire you to create and tell your own stories. With that, I'm happy to announce the first 4 ETHIs, which include stories of remarkable ethics and action in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Liz Beneke, for leading an army of volunteers to make face masks. Dr. Bola Delano Oriaran, for addressing opportunity gaps to virtual learning for students. Sherry Salmon, for her vision of providing basic needs across a community-wide foster care collaboration. And Sue Vincent, for addressing childcare needs of essential workers. We've asked Sherry Salmon and Dr. Delano and the people who nominated them to share their stories with you.
Foster the Village is a nonprofit organization, a 501c3, that really, from my perspective, kind of wraps its arms around the foster care community in Brown County. So we provide not only just the clothing and the basic care items, we also provide kind of that support group, training, getting to know other foster families. If you need help or you've got questions or you need respite for your kiddos, we all really kind of get to know each other and are really that support system for each other.
I decided to nominate Sherry because of the great work she does in this community. She goes above and beyond to fill the needs of foster families.
So as foster parents are getting placements, they can come before or after. They can bring the kiddos in with them if they want, and then they can pick out whatever items they need. Maybe it's just pajamas, socks, and underwear, whatever that is, just to help them kind of get settled when they first get placed. When kids come into care, there are so many things that you need to do to help them. Number one, help them feel safe when they're in your home, right? Focus on, they want to know, when do I get to see my parents again? Showing them the house and introducing them to everybody. They have to go to the doctor, they have to go to the dentist, you have to sign them up for school. There's all these things that need to be done to help them feel safe. And taking them shopping right away is probably not number one on your list. Charles Dickens once wrote in a book, it takes a very tiny key to open a very heavy door. And I think of the foster care community, Child Protective Services, that is that heavy door. And I think about that every time I walk into the foster closet, because every volunteer that's going through that door and is willing to help out and help serve with our mission, it just makes a huge impact in the community, and that's what keeps me going.
It's no longer just the clothes and the school supplies. It is things like beds and dressers and car seats and pretty high ticket items. And foster families do get a small stipend to help with their needs, but we really want to be able for them to focus on building that relationship with the foster child and not have to worry about some of those basic necessity items to get the ball rolling.
I had somebody come in and she donated a pair of these size, I think they were men's 13 high top black tennis shoes. And she brought them in. I thought, well, now what in the world am I going to do with these? I mean, what are the odds I'm going to find a kiddo that's going to need this? The next day, a child came in, actually it was through Oconto County. He was aging out of care. And the social worker called and said, can I bring him in? I said, of course, you can bring him in. So she brought him in, and he came in, even though he had nothing to his name, he brought in some clothes that didn't fit him, that he wanted to donate. And we got him a suitcase, and we got him all kinds of things. And he said, do you have any black high tops? I'm starting a job at Burger King tomorrow. And didn't those shoes fit him? I just kind of sent chills down my back. It was meant to be. And he was so excited to have those. If I could just let some of those people that are making those donations see the excitement on the kid's face when something fits, or just kind of, like I said, helps build their self-esteem.
At any given time, there's over 200 children in Brown County in foster care, and we've been able to serve over 1,000 foster families in the last 2 years. And I think her work is just so imperative to the needs of the children in our community.
Personally, it made me feel awesome because ethics are just part of what I do every day. And it's how I think about my work, my family, everything that I do. My dad is a deacon in the church, and he's just always been such a strong role model for me that, to me, this award just kind of emboldens everything that he's taught me.
I nominated Dr. Delano because I really appreciated the work that she's been doing for a long time. I work with her at St. Norbert College, and this particular project seemed to really deserve some attention when the Ethics in Action Award nomination came out. So, yeah, I thought, well, this deserves to be told, this story.
As a scholar in community engaged learning, I'm always exploring innovative ways of how to respond to community needs. And I came up with that idea that what if we did a virtual tutoring program, considering all of us were in distress of what to do with this thing called a pandemic, COVID-19. None of us signed up for this.
When she knew that her students wouldn't have a chance to work with children in the K-12 system because she teaches education students at St. Norbert, and she knew that all these students, because she has a child at home as well, would be without classroom teachers and the support of their peers. She said, we can work together on something, and we can make something big happen here that will benefit a lot of people.
What if I tried something small, because I had about 10 students who also needed to go into the field? Let's just go ahead and put the word out there, and let's see how we can support families that needed their children to be tutored. And so we put it out there, and as we put it out there, immediately we started to get calls. Immediately families were signing up, and our numbers just started to grow to the point that it was growing from 20 to 40 to 50. All of a sudden, putting the word out to only Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Appleton calling us, and Menasha calling us, and then it went beyond Wisconsin, Illinois, Maryland. We also got a call from a country in Asia. And before we knew it, we knew that it was beyond St. Norbert College. When you lead with a heart, when you have a commitment to acting for people, to investing in the lives of individuals and the community, that's what constitutes ethical leadership.
At the very end, it ended with a celebration that included the children and the tutors and the parents and people from the communities who were speakers, and again, just reflecting that same idea that, you know, even in crisis, we're still together and we still need to support each other.
As a mother of a 10-year-old daughter, I understood the magnitude of request that families were going through. I get it. And we worked 24 hours, we worked all day, maintained our full-time jobs, and we did it. So just going forward and not looking back. And I'm filled with gratitude to all the college students who invested their time, all the educators who invested their time. I'm filled with gratitude to my colleagues who, in spite of the trauma they were going through with COVID, invested the time in ensuring that the tutoring program went well.
Congratulations to Liz, Bola, Sue, and Sherry. As we are listening to these stories, let's take a moment to recognize all that we are doing to tolerate the discomfort we are feeling in 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed so many parts of our lives. We are collectively experiencing traumatic events. So it's important that we give ourselves room to grieve the loss of our routines and be mindful of reaching out to others who are struggling. I know that everyone at Foundations is strengthened by their roles as helpers in 2020. The events of this year have shown us that our values are our true north as mental health leaders in the community. Smashing stigma, removing barriers, and providing an opportunity to heal are important. This next story by Kate is about all of those things. Kate is a children's counselor at Foundations. She's here to share a story about a little boy and his unique mental health team.
Hi, I'm Kate Bellinger, a mental health counselor here at Foundations. I work with children and teens to help them reach their full potential at home, at school, and in their community. Addressing children's mental health needs is essential to their overall well-being and their growth into adulthood. Their experiences in their younger years can have multi-generational impacts. That's why it's important that they learn appropriate mental health literacy and get emotional health screenings and mental health counseling when they struggle with things like anxiety, depression, or even lack of appropriate social skills, which may occur because of external factors like family struggles or bullying in school. I'd like to share a quick story. The COVID-19 pandemic has moved us into the world of video therapy. For young children, video therapy requires different approaches because of their age. They may have a difficult time focusing and having a concentrated conversation with someone who's not physically in the room with them. We all remember those phone calls with relatives in other states to thank them for presents, or some of you may be having video calls with your children and your relatives who don't live locally. Those conversations can keep children's attention for a minute or two, then they're off running to something else. Therapy is a lot like that, but for almost an hour. One of my young clients was struggling to connect with me over video therapy. It was difficult for him to talk with me about how he feels. He didn't know the words, and he felt some apprehension talking to someone like me who he couldn't see in real life. Then he came up with a solution to our dilemma. During our third session, his parents set up the video therapy in my client's bedroom so he could have privacy talking with me. My young client had all of his stuffed animals set up in a line on his desk between him and the computer. He introduced me to each of his animals and left them on the desk. I wasn't sure what his plan for them was or if they were with us as a sense of comfort. I started our counseling session, and when I asked him a question about recent struggles, he picked up his dinosaur and put it in front of his face, and he had his dinosaur answer on his behalf. It was my client's voice through his dinosaur. The other stuffed animals played a role too. A dog, a cat, and a bunny all answered other questions, and a stuffed football even got involved in the conversation. This boy created his own stuffed animal mental health team to help support him. He's making great progress, and I'm so lucky to get to work with him. Stories like this happen every day at Foundations. We can't do this without you. If you're inspired by this story, please give to support the mental wellness of children and teens in our area. When we support children and teens, we support their families and ultimately our community. We want to inspire and help a generation thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate, for sharing this heartfelt story and for all of your work helping children heal mind and spirit. To all of our guests watching, you've already raised $8,370 for children and teens' mental health. And because of that generous matching gift you heard about, that amount is doubled. Thank you. We can raise more critical funds to support children like Kate's client. Will you help us reach the goal of matching all those funds? It's really easy to give. You can text ALLY to 44321. While we're talking about giving, I'd like to introduce you to our presenting sponsor, Associated Bank, to say a few words about ethics and mental health.
Good afternoon. I am Dennis Hogan, Regional President at Associated Bank. Ethical principles are a key requirement of being an employee of Associated Bank. It is critical in providing confidence to our clients that their personal information is safe and protected. Further, the client must trust that we always have their best interest in mind whenever we are serving them. In addition to providing a positive ethical culture for our employees, we invest in their personal wellness by providing a strong benefit package and resources to meet their physical and mental health needs. We know that caring for the well-being of individuals is essential to having a healthy community. Being mentally and emotionally healthy allows individuals to perform at a high level and achieve the goals they set out for themselves. These enhanced individual outcomes in turn lead to improved community outcomes, reflected in a strong and prosperous economy. Associated is proud to be a sponsor of the 2020 Ethics in Action event. We strongly support the great work Foundations does in our community to promote both ethical leadership and helping all of us achieve overall well-being. Please join me in congratulating today's Ethics in Action Award recipients. Thank you for all you do to make our community a better, healthier place to work and live. Thank you.
Thank you, Associated Bank, for helping us come together and honor the Ethy recipients. Without further delay, the next 5 Ethys are Karen Early for her work addressing food insecurity issues in Brown County, Dr. Dave Ferguson for his holistic, person-centered approach related to aging and chronic illness, Denise McGinnis for her work with teen girls in the foster care system, including helping them get the right start into adulthood, Bonnie Kaur for her work addressing the inequities of gentrification and creating a robust healthcare delivery system for our community members experience homelessness, and Alex Zacharias for use of public art as a means of community engagement with youth. Karen and Alex and their nominators share more of their stories and what putting their ethics into action means for them.
What does food insecurity mean? I mean, it's about when people struggle or worry or cut the amount of food that they eat themselves or the amount that they give to their children because there isn't enough money to buy food. Even when the evidence was there that people in Green Bay were struggling with having access to enough healthy food for their families, there really wasn't a readiness to accept it and address it. In the research, a third of the people that we interviewed at food pantries said that if they had a garden to grow food for their families, that it would help their situation. And it was really an opportunity for me to share my personal interests because they align so well with the needs and the voices of the community.
Community gardens is an aspect of what Karen does. She helped establish the community gardens, and there are gardens all throughout Brown County, actually, which are open to anyone who wants to garden but doesn't have land, and they rent the property there at various community gardens around the city. She was very instrumental in starting up community gardens many years ago, and they've just been growing and thriving ever since.
Gardening's a life skill. And anytime we can teach a life skill that is something that we carry with us is just really important.
She doesn't want you not to have healthy food because you can't afford it, or not to have healthy food because you don't understand the language. She's always thinking about, is everyone at the table? How do we bring everyone to the table? So I've been inspired by her notion that in order to have good food, everybody needs to be at the table, everybody needs to be in the project, everybody needs to be in the decision making.
You know, when people lose touch with the land, they lose touch with so many things, like fresh food, their cultural heritage, and land ethics. At the time that we were doing the research, we were also learning how important gardening was to the Hmong population. And they were looking for more space to grow food for their families so that they had fresh food to eat, so that they could grow some more traditional foods, and also they had land to grow food for market gardens.
The things that she established or helped establish are ongoing, continuing things like community gardens, like Farm to School, like Green Bay Garden Blitz, like school gardens. They're not a one-time project. They keep going on and on and on, making improvements in everybody's lives.
We do have a strong and expanding network of community gardens. We have a thriving Wednesday night farmers market with a diversity in our growers. We have a salad bar in every Green Bay school. We have a robust network of food pantries that work together. We have more people growing food, and not just growing it, but donating it to others in need. And we have gardens in our schools that provide an opportunity for children to learn through gardening. Ethics in Action couldn't be a more meaningful recognition. It's so important to me to have meaning behind the work that I do, and to have others value that is really rewarding.
Alex has a unique role in working with a group of young people who have self-coined the name the Creative Crew. And the Creative Crew, while they focus on filmmaking and video production and developing all of the artistic skills that go along with that art form, their actions are really focused on positive change and having a voice in the community.
It really is social-emotional learning mostly for them, because they're still trying to discover who they are and what their purpose in life is. So that's what I try to facilitate mostly. And I said, many of you may not get into video or filmmaking, but the process of coming up with an idea and then final product, there's people that are hiring you just to be able to understand process. So that's what I'm really trying to instill in them.
He really understands every child's unique need and interest and puts them first in everything.
How do I make sure that I'm serving them at where they're at is what I'm always trying to do. And I think creativity in the arts allows, it empowers you no matter where you're at. So I think that's a great opportunity.
He knows what it means to grow up in challenging and difficult circumstances, and he is also a true expert in the art of filmmaking. Kids really see him as an authentic mentor and leader, and that is inspiring to our young people.
I think in its simplest form, ethic leadership is empowering others to be leaders. And I think that's what I really enjoy about the position that I have as a teaching artist, because I'm trying to make leaders of the youth that I'm working with, the youth artists, trying to give them leadership skills so that they could forge the future. So for me, it's really empowering others, and along with it, it's trying to ingrain in them the idea of honesty, respect, integrity.
The kids actually were involved in the hiring process. They interviewed Alex and met with him before we brought him on board as our professional practicing teaching artist who fills the role of leading the creative crew. And from day one, kids were invested in Alex because they got the chance to meet him, to interview him, to see that he was really an authentic person and an expert in filmmaking, and he was relatable. He was someone that the kids would want to attend classes with and learn from. That was 6 years ago, and today, many of those same kids that were part of that initial interview process are still active creative crew members.
It's given me an opportunity to share this with my youth and tell them, well, you know, I'm getting this award and here's the why. And it's like, oh, that's cool, Mr. Alex. That's what we have always been doing. And I said, well, then we all won this award. This is a Creative Crew Award. And kudos to you guys. And we'll get pizzas and celebrate.
Congratulations, Karen, Dave, Denise, Bonnie, and Alex. Alex's story highlights the need to support children and teens as they develop their own values and leadership skills. At Foundations, it's our mission to help children and teens feel a positive sense of self. Tyler, a counselor at Foundations, is a gamer, and he uses play therapy and gaming to help children and teens find their wholeness. We're delighted that Tyler is joining us to share this story.
Oh, hi, sorry. I was playing Animal Crossing. I've almost figured out how to grow the blue roses. If you play the game, you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm Tyler Robertson, and I'm a counselor at Foundations, where I work with a lot of elementary school-age children. Mental health therapy with young children is an interactive time. I use structured and unstructured play to engage children to communicate. A child's job is play. Through play, children can learn to listen and work out conflict. I can learn more about a young client within an hour of play than I can through many hours of talk. And from the child's perspective, they buy into play more so than talk. How a child plays during therapy helps me understand the child's struggles when they can't verbalize their thoughts and emotions. The play becomes a way for us to build trust and empathy so I can address trauma, social skills, and behaviors. So let's get back to Animal Crossing for a minute. I believe that video games can be good for mental health. I frequently use my own love for gaming to connect with my young clients. I like to think of myself as the cool counselor. Because of their structure and interactive nature, video games have been used for treating trauma and depression, as well as a method to address isolation. There's even a prescription video game being developed that's designed to treat ADHD. There's also a positive social aspect to video games because kids talk about the games they play. By doing that, they learn how to communicate appropriately and they find common bonds with their peers. When parents watch their children playing video games, they see the back of their child, hunched over the console, clutching the controller or the keyboard, absorbed in the screen. That's much different than what a child experiences in the world they've entered through the game. They're colorful and full of sound and action. Video games are art, and art has messages. Video games praise and reward. Each one has a different set of rules, different scenes, and an objective way for a player to move from one level to the next. If a child plays different video games, they're learning to work under different guidelines. Of course, it's critical to choose video games with content that's appropriate. Parents can influence the messages children receive through video games by being involved, and enforcing moderation is a good rule of thumb. I talk about play therapy in video games because as a mental health counselor, it's important for me to educate families about what counseling looks like for children. With education, my fellow Foundations counselors and I can smash the stigma that parents may feel about their child needing therapy and give parents confidence in the therapy resources we use. We need you to make this a reality throughout our community. Help us educate families and provide counseling to children in Brown County. Please help us give more children access to play therapy and an opportunity to thrive. And happy gaming.
Thank you, Tyler, for sharing your love of gaming and your approach to play therapy. I have a fundraising update. You, our generous donors, have raised $9,340 for children and teens in our community. And our generous matching donor is doubling your gifts. Thank you so much. I would also like to thank our major sponsors this year, Aaron's Company, the law firm of Conway, Olenichek, and Jerry, and Green Bay Packers Give Back. On behalf of our major sponsors, Dan and Steve share their perspectives with you.
On behalf of everyone at Aaron's Company, congratulations to the Ethics in Action Award recipients. You know, great communities are built around the citizens and those who are involved in businesses in their communities. And it's really important for an employer to be part of promoting ethical behavior and really promoting the strong mental health of all of its citizens, its employees, its team members. I think the vibrancy of any community is most successful when all of these things work well together. So I want to again congratulate the award winners today. It's an important event. You've all done really well. You're helping us all by helping the community at large. Thanks very much.
Hello, my name is Steve Krieger with the law firm of Conway, Olenichek, and Jerry. I thought I'd start today out with a lawyer joke that's topic appropriate. What's the difference between a good lawyer and a bad lawyer? A bad lawyer will keep a case going on for a year or more, and a good lawyer will keep it going on even longer. We've all heard the lawyer jokes like these, and disproving this mindset is one of the reasons our profession takes ethics so seriously. At LCOJ, we pride ourselves on our ethics, and that is one reason we continue to support this event. The true test to which we measure ourselves is our ethical behavior while not regulated. There are so many wonderful and ethical businesses in this community, many of whom we're proud to call clients. On behalf of everyone at the law firm of Conway, Olenichek, and Jerry, congratulations to all of the nominees, and thank you for all you have done and continue to do for our community.
Thank you, Dan and Steve, for making the Ethies possible and helping our community heal mind and spirit. Our final Ethie goes to the Honorable Donald Zeidmulder for all of his work creating and sustaining alternative diversion courts to help people get out of the cycle of incarceration. We are delighted to hear Judge Zeidmulder and his nominator talk about his ethical inspiration.
I have the greatest admiration for Judge because he does see things that need to be done. And most people would agree that our criminal justice system needs a lot of fixing, and there's a lot of talk. And Judge saw what needed to be done, and he got in and he acted.
It struck me that we seem to be recycling a lot of people. The same people were coming through. So I stepped back, kind of looked around and found this model of a drug court that was started in Florida.
And he became determined to have that happen in Brown County. And drug court does treat people rather than incarcerate them.
We have a criminal justice population. Well, some of them are non-violent offenders who really have an alcohol or drug abuse issue, and they're continually in the system, and they really require treatment. Why don't we spin those people out and create a post-judgment court? So they're convicted, they're on probation, so you have leverage control over them, and then you obligate them to go into treatment.
He's so highly respected that he convinces people because he never, ever, ever gives up.
I met individually with every member of the county board at the time, tried to talk to them the same way I'm talking to you. And then I basically got up and said, I think this is the right thing to do. I think it would be good for our community, but you decide. I'm just a volunteer. You want me to do it, I'll do it. If you don't want to do it, I won't do it. And I cannot tell you how much it meant to me as somebody living in this town that county board said, absolutely, this is something that would be good for our community, let's do it. We now have 6 treatment courts. So because of this, the realization is that 80% of the people in the criminal justice system either have mental health or drug and alcohol abuse problems, or a combination. So which is the tail and which is the dog? So we now have a heroin court, a drug court, a veterans court, an OWI court, a mental health court, and a family court. We now have over 100 participants in those courts.
If you offend and you will end up in Judge Zeidmiller's court, you're going to be held accountable and then some. So people who get through the court are so proud of what they've done, and he shares that pride.
We are human beings, I think not so much for all the negative that we've ever had in our lives, but we really are who we are by the affirmation. So whether it was our parents or a teacher or whoever it was people who told us that we could amount to something, that we weren't a piece of garbage, and that we had a life to lead. And so in the treatment courts, I've come to understand that that's really the most important thing you can do for a child or an adult, is just to try to point out to them their good qualities instead of hammering them all the time about their failings. My father was the greatest person in my life, and he was the fire chief, and he taught me, you lead by example. You never ask, his phrase to me was, you never ask your men to do anything you're not willing to do yourself. And so, from his example, I've just tried to live up to that model. He's sort of my idol, so I'm hoping he thinks I've done a good job.
Congratulations, Your Honor, and to all the 2020 Effie Awards recipients.
I echo this congratulations to all of the Effie recipients. Thank you for putting your ethics into action. And what's also exciting is that the generous people watching this event have donated over $9,000 for mental health literacy, counseling, and emotional health screenings for children and teens, and their gifts are doubled. There's still time to donate during and after this event, so the children and teens that Kate, Tyler, and the rest of our therapy team work with can heal and thrive. Before we close, I invite you to get social with us, like our Facebook page, and stay tuned for more stories of ethics in action and another award we didn't have time to share here today.
We hope that you are inspired by the stories of ethics in action you heard today, and you are energized to celebrate these stories and others in your community. Ethics seems like a big word. It appears to require big things from us. Ethics is no bigger than our values, so I leave you with this call to action. Shine a light on needs that might otherwise go unnoticed and help others meet those needs. Maintain your commitment to values even during tough times, and come together to find innovative solutions to community issues. Thank you for being present, and thank you for being you.
Today, during the Effies, we came together from all corners of our community to honor 10 people for the inspiring work they do to create healthy neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces. We also came together to celebrate each other and raise money for children and teens' mental health. While we are physically distanced, watching this event from our offices and homes, and we can't be together at our traditional in-person luncheon, we are more connected than ever as a community through our values and our stories. At Foundations, we continue to live out our 55-year-old pledge to innovate care to heal mind and spirit. We strive every day to live our core values of ethics, justice, spirituality, joy, relationships, and excellence. As we go our separate ways, we want to remind you that you matter. We are Foundations.